Hey, what's up everybody? It's Flux with Fluxwithit.com, and today we're going to check out a module that's completely obscured by my patch cables right now. It is the Animodule Midi Gate. And the reason why it's completely obscured by patch cables is because, quite simply, it's a small module with a whole lot of cable outputs on it. So let's talk about what this thing is. This is an gate output module that has a DIN MIDI cable input. And what that lets us do is we can send a DIN MIDI cable over here right on into this thing, and then we can map any kind of standard MIDI keyboard or drum machine to this thing and have it output our gate signals for our modular drums. Okay, so in this particular instance, what I'm doing is I'm sending Native Instruments machine MIDI output of the machine controller goes right to the DIN input on the MIDI gate, and then I'm using that to sequence a Delptronics LDB2E with expansion. So this is the new analog drum module from Delptronics, and it's got quite a few inputs on it, and I can sequence all of them right here from the MIDI gate, which is pretty darn cool. So let's just take a quick listen. And as you can see, while this thing is running, you're getting these little LED lights that are flaring up, and those are showing you the triggers that are happening as it's running. Now I have the module mounted upside down right now, just because I like the DIN MIDI cable to be kind of out of the way. And you'll notice that there's this little purple light up here as well. That little purple light, basically what it does is it lets us know that we're getting our MIDI clock into it, and our MIDI signals are coming in. So it's just an easy way to know what it's doing. What's really cool about this module is that it's an Arduino open source module where you can actually get the code directly from Animodule, and you can tweak the notes to be whatever you want. Now, standard right out of the box, what you get is MIDI channel 10, and then C1 octave all the way up to A1 will give you all of the 11 notes that you're able to trigger. Now, you can map that any way you want. So if you're familiar with Arduino, you can go into the Arduino code and change what notes you want it to correspond to. But these are pretty standard notes for drum machines. So if you have something like an MPC or a machine, or really just any standard drum machine, you'll be able to trigger that with a simple DIN MIDI cable pretty easily. For instance, on Native Instruments machine, all you need to do is quite simply take a pad, put it into pad keyboard mode, and then octave down to the first octave, and you're ready to go. Your pads will map right out, and then you can decide which notes send to what module on your modular. So very easy to map this thing out however you want. Now, you can make this thing run pretty darn fast, so I'm just going to give you a quick stress test of how quickly this thing will run without problems. Right now we're at 194 beats per minute. .224 beats per minute. .308 beats per minute. Let's take it back down. Add swing to your module. Another really great feature about this module is that you can use it as an expander to something like the Arturia BeatStep Pro. So on the BeatStep Pro, the first row of 8 pads will send you trigger outputs, but the top row, they don't send you anything but MIDI. But luckily there is a DIN MIDI output on the BeatStep Pro. So all you need to do is connect that to your Animodule MIDI Gate, map those pads out to the C1 octave, and you're good to go. You now have an additional 8 triggers coming out of your BeatStep Pro. Okay, so what we have in this patch right here is I'm using just the BeatStep Pro. And you'll see I've got the MIDI DIN plug here plugged in, and that's coming over here to the MIDI gate, okay? So what I've got is the first row here is sending triggers out to my modular drums. And so I'm sending a kick to the hex inverter mutant bass drum, snare is hex inverter mutant snare, closed and open hi-hat is the audio damage neuron, and then and the way that I'm closing and opening the hi-hat with that is I'm sending, you know, pad 3 goes into the Animodule triple exclusive OR, and pad 4 goes into the triple exclusive OR. This will allow me to do, you know, some fancy triggering to get it to open and close the hi-hat in the proper way. So the top row is all going into the MIDI gate. Okay, so the top row is MIDI gate, which is the Delptronics Little Drummer Boy 2. So let's take a listen to the Little Drummer Boy 2. For a mixer, I'm using the Mutant Hot Glue, so I can add some compression in here. I'm also using the audio damage compressor down here to let this thing get a little bit more funky as well. The output of the Mutant Hot Glue is going into the audio damage compressor. But as you'll notice here, let's go ahead and turn that Delptronics down. Of course, I can still use all my other functions. Swing. Randomization. And let's bring back the Delptronics. So that's just a very simple way for me to add an additional 8 triggers straight out of my BeatStep Pro just by using the Animodule Midi Gate. Pretty darn cool. So this is really great module for both saving space and also expanding a much larger rig as well. So definitely check this one out. It's Animodule's Midi Gate, and extremely affordable, very small and compact, and just a great module. Peace.